Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. Task Force Bourbon. Today I'm going to be reviewing Hancock's President's Reserve. It's a liquor barn store select, as you'll note on the side here. I'm going to start by doing the history readout real quick, and then I'll do the tasting notes, and then I'll probably go on a little bit of a tangent if you're still around. So real quick, the background on this is that it's first off usually referred to simply as Hancock's Reserve. It's one of the single barrel offerings out of Buffalo Trace using mash bill number 2. There's actually not a lot of information available about this offering, but according to Sazerac, as it pertains to the name, is that in 1775 the Leestown settlement was established about the banks of the Kentucky River by Willis and Hancock Lee. Soon this became a well-known shipping port for tobacco, hemp, and whiskey. The BT Distillery's origins date back to 1792, the year the oldest standing building on the site, the Riverside House, was built by Commodore Richard Taylor. A proper distillery wasn't built until 1812, but there is evidence that distilling on the site predates not only 1812 distillery, but even Taylor's Riverside House. According to Buffalo Trace's distillery timeline, there is evidence of distilling as early as 1775 on land that would later house the BT Distillery. That land was surveyed by Hancock Lee, who later shared his whiskey with the English Diarist Nicholas Cresswell. Hancock Lee disappears off the timeline in 1786, but as Sazerac says, this single barrel bourbon whiskey pays tribute to the pioneering spirit of Hancock Lee. As a side note, you'll find that Hancock's Reserve is not listed on the Buffalo Trace's website, nor is some of their other mash bill 2 offerings. Only Elmer T. Lee, Blanton's, and Ancient Age are available on its website. This uses the mash bill number 2, supposedly a 12 to 15% rye grain mash bill, which is their highest rye grain mash bill that they have. The relationship between mash bill number 2 and Buffalo Trace is a bit convoluted. Ancient Age International Incorporated owns the labels. Buffalo Trace makes the bourbon and distributes in the United States. Hancock's Reserve is bottled at 88.9 proof. That's a bit bizarre. We have no explanation as to why. But it is the lowest proof offering in mash bill number 2. It does not carry an age statement, but that's not uncommon in Buffalo Trace, or mash bill number 2 for that matter. So now we'll get into the tasting notes. The aroma has a warm vanilla and some ground milled corn, like the corn you would get like after it's been milled. I got a bit of a beard oil scent to it as well, but that's probably because I'm using the Buffalo Trace beard oil. That aroma, just to remind myself here, it does translate into the open. You do get a lot of that vanilla and milled corn. It's light-bodied. It's very familiar to much of the other mash bill 2 offerings. I actually do not find that the mash bill 2 offerings break out, wildly from one another. So this will taste very common to what you've tasted in Blanton's or Elmer T. Lee or Rock Hill Farms. On the mid, you start to get that big kick of rye. It's probably the most rye evident, rye forward, if you will, of mash bill 2 that I've had. It does have that same cinnamon. For me, mash bill 2, actually Buffalo Trace kind of writ large, I get a lot of vanillas, a lot of cinnamons. I can probably pick most Buffalo Traces out of a lineup just based on those 2 notes. But especially with mash bill 2, there's a lot of cinnamon, and that's here as well. The finish, however, it's a bit spicier than other mash bill 2 offerings I've had. This one goes a lot towards the oak side of the house. I got some black pepper in there as well. It's dry and spicy on the end. I know those are some common words, but to keep it simple for everybody's profile. But that's generally what I get. I rated it a 3.5. That's out of a 5.0 rating scale. That doesn't mean it's bad. 3.5 to me. 2.5 obviously middle of the road. So 3 is really the first where you start to see a good bourbon, in my opinion, and 3.5 is kind of step up. 4 is where I start to recommend to others. So this I wouldn't recommend to someone. I say if you see MSRP, which good luck for really anything Buffalo Trace nowadays. But if you see it for MSRP, sure, pick up a bottle. I think you'll find that this is probably where you're going to land as far as opinion as well. Where I sort of break, go against the grain is I think Blanton's is probably the best in mash bill 2. And that's probably blasphemy to a lot of you all, especially if you're talking about Rock Hill Farms or the more beloved Elmer T. Lee. For $400 on the secondary, I would not recommend Elmer T. Lee. I was not impressed. Same with Rock Hill Farms. I thought they were kind of in the same wheelhouse. Moving down the line, you got the Ancient Age and Ancient Age 10. Not impressed at all. And I thought they were decent bourbons. I think I gave them 4s if memory serves. But I still think Blanton's stands out in mash bill 2. It's more of a balance. Again, nothing to write home to mom about in terms of things that will amaze you. But it's those are pretty good bourbons in that lineup. This one, Hancock's Reserve, decent enough. But I don't think there's anything that you'll be impressed with here. But it's drinkable neat. So, cheers.